Hey, everybody, what's going on? We're back. We were kind of gone last week, but welcome to episode 94 of ChanmanV's Pro Corner, where pros come and show us how it's done. I'm your host, ChanmanV, and yes, we took a couple weeks off, mostly because of scheduling issues, because of the crazy tournament schedules for all the players that, had a few that just didn't work out. But thankfully, the tournament season is starting to slow down. We're going to have some really great shows, including today with GLSnute. He's going to be on to talk about Zerg strategies, particularly ZVT and ZVZ. And we'll be looking over replays from his DreamHack run, a couple weeks ago. So that should be really, really fun to, I think it includes some replays against the STC and Liquid.Tasia and E.G. Stefano. So it should be good stuff. But also, I know a lot of you guys are interested in the giveaway. We're giving away another Heart of the Swarm beta key. I know there's still some folks out there that still need one and really want to play a lot of these new changes, or get to see a lot of these new changes Blizzard's been adding to Heart of the Swarm, which have been awesome. I've experienced it myself. So we'll be giving it away to a viewer. So it's not going to be anything like we've done in the past, where it's like subscribe to me or follow me. We're going to do something on the spot for folks that are actually watching the show. So we'll do that near the end of the show. So definitely stay tuned. It might have some stuff to do with what's going on in the show, so try to catch as much of the show as possible. Also, I wanted to quickly let you guys know too that next week we'll be having a Pro Corner show. Probably won't have one the following week, just because holidays. But next week we will, and we'll do our Christmas kind of episode next week. So it'll be a lot of fun. I'm going to try to get as many pros on the show as possible, just to kind of hang out, do kind of a Q&A with all you guys, and we're going to have just an enormous, giant giveaway, like 12 Days of Christmas, big time giveaway with just a bunch of Razor gear. Hopefully a bunch of Heart of the Swarm keys, and I'm trying to nail down a bunch of stuff from Blizzard too to include in the giveaway. So it's just gonna be big ol' Christmas fest next week on Pro Corner. So come and it's not gonna be a drunk Pro Corner, like State of the Game, but it's gonna be a great one for all you viewers. I promise you. I promise you that. And I'll announce the guests a little bit later. But again, we're gonna have multiple guests on and just hanging out. We'll talk a little strat, talk a little about everything. But okay, let's get Snute on. Let me switch to MOBA. It's always, as many times as I've done this, I never do this super fast, switching them over. It's kind of funny. Hey Snute, what's going on, buddy?
Hey man, doing fine. A little bit sick, but apart from that, cool, I guess.
Man, everybody is. I know a lot of people that have gotten sick in the last. They kind of like the end of the trips to all these tournaments. They kind of came back sick, so it's kind of hard. Do you think you get sick from people on the airplanes, or do you think just all the traveling and just?
I have no clue, to be honest.
Really? Okay.
My health is really bad by default, so that's going to be probably my main priority in life just next year. Work out more, and I don't know. For some reason, I prefer the window seats on airplanes, but I've heard that they are also the worst. I don't know.
Oh, really? I never thought about that.
I sometimes get sick sick after travel, so might be something there.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people. Have you ever heard the that kind of, what do they call it? Just a remedy or just preventative thing that's called airborne? Have you ever heard of that? It's just this little it's almost like an Alka-Seltzer that has like a ton of minerals and vitamins and stuff like that. And the reason it's called airborne is because a lot of people get sick on planes because there's just so many people close together. And
Right.
if there's like a kid that's sick on the plane, you could probably get sick too. So anyways, so it's pretty common, I think, that a lot of people get sick from traveling and because of planes and stuff. So, but yeah, hopefully you get better, man. It's always crappy to be sick. I know how that is, man.
Yeah, thanks. So you're going to hear it in my voice, but it should be fine nonetheless.
You sound fine, man. But yeah, so talk to us a little bit about your last, few weeks. I mean, I feel like you've had, really, really great, you've had really, really great results in a lot of these tournaments. The last, I don't know, I'd say 4 weeks or so. I mean, it might even be more, but particularly, DreamHack and then IPL 5 and then even some of your recent ones. Talk a little bit about that.
I've been doing quite okay at the last few offline events I've been to. I guess the first one was the Acer Starcraft Challenge in Berlin, where I
Oh,
placed
right.
second, only losing to Sage in the finals.
Right.
And I might be completely mistaken here, but I guess DreamHack was afterwards, where I got to the quarterfinals, and I lost to the winner, Liquid Hero. And after that, we had IPL 5, of course. Didn't really go that well, but I did manage to beat Life, so that was quite cool.
Oh man, I mean,
And
IPL 5 went. You don't think it went well? I mean, IPL 5 was probably the hardest tournament of the year. I feel like with that bracket that they had. Um, but
probably, yeah.
I mean, weren't you the highest finishing foreigner at that tournament?
That's correct.
Okay. Okay. So, man, that's not
So
enough for you.
together with
That's
Huck,
cool. I mean, that's
we
cool.
placed 13th, I believe,
Okay. Right. Right.
something like that.
So, that's cool. That's not enough for you, man. That's great. But yeah, IPL for me, I thought that was awesome for you, man, because again, there were like, I mean, I think over half of the field were Koreans, right? And a
Yeah,
lot of them were GSL winners, and you beat one. So that's pretty
yeah.
awesome.
It's awesome to play against Koreans. I
Yeah.
don't know. It's just you get this extra good feeling after beating them, and they are not like your close friends or something. It always sucks when you have to play a close friend in a tournament, or
Oh, that's a good point. I never really, nobody's ever mentioned that
yeah.
before, just having it, yeah, just
No,
be
there's
cut, yeah, clearly competitive, right? Versus any kind of bad feelings. Yeah.
yeah. You might play a friend or you might play someone you don't really like, and sometimes it might affect you. I mean, it shouldn't do so, but
Mhm.
playing against Koreans is refreshing because if you have had any troubles with that earlier, then you don't really have to deal with it at all because the Koreans are simply professional,
Right, right. So
and it's always nice.
do you feel like, I mean, do you get amped up when you're about to play like a known Korean, like a really good Korean, or do you actually just try to treat it as if, you were playing a good European that you don't know?
No, I think it's like it's a good Korean, but I've beaten good Koreans before.
Yeah.
So I just think of it as a challenge, and I always go into those matches thinking that it doesn't really matter if I win or lose. I'm always going to learn something from this, and that's my experience in the past as well.
Mhm.
Every single time I get owned by a Korean, I learn so much from those games. So every time I get to play a Korean, I'm just really happy and grateful.
Yeah, that's a great outlook on going into it, because I know a lot of folks, they really put a lot of pressure on themselves, especially when they're going against a pretty well-known Korean, because there's a lot on the line, right? I mean, if you beat them, I mean, there's a lot of great exposure that comes from it, and if you don't, then you're just another tally, right? Or it's kind of expected for you to lose, which is a really crappy thing in my opinion, but that's just kind of how it is right now.
Yeah.
But thankfully, we have some replays here, at least from DreamHack. I was gonna grab some from IPL 5 too, but we'll see if we'll have time. I mean, if we have time, maybe we can snag the live replay, the Game 3 live replay, which was it was just fun to watch. It'd be
That one was kind of stupid. I
I
think
know.
if we are going to look at those games, I think probably the best one would be Game 2 on Cloud Kingdom.
Game
Uh,
2. Okay, right.
I guess that was the game that probably decided it all, but nobody really thought about it when you think of those series. For those who watched it was all about the final game and the Nidus Worm. But the Cloud Kingdom game was, it was a really solid macro game.
Yeah, I mean the Cloud Kingdom game, like you said, it was just it was really solid. The macro game was great, and nothing ever went kind of crazy for you. You know what I mean? I felt like you pretty methodically just won that game. But Game 3 for me, I was just like, you came from behind in that one, and I knew that's kind of what the Nidus ends up doing a lot of times. It's like when it looks like you're behind, then all of a sudden you just win with that move. So that's why it's always cool. But yeah, we could go over either one. It doesn't matter. It's just great seeing you beat Life, man. That was really
Yeah.
amazing, because Life, he's one of the best Zergs in the world right now, if not the best, right? So it's doesn't matter if
Yeah,
it's easy
still.
or not. It's pretty awesome, man.
Yeah.
Um, but all
He
right,
said he was not that confident in his CVC though. I think maybe Leenock or Sniper
yeah,
have a little bit better CVC than Life, but I also know that he's a really good player overall, so not going to take anything away from him.
yeah, exactly. I mean, again, yeah, Leenock maybe, yeah, Leenock's probably Sniper's pretty on par with him, I think. But yep, good old little Leenock, the Lenoctopus.
Leenock pretty good.
Yeah, pretty good, pretty good. All right, why don't we jump in some replays? I know a lot of folks are you know eager to kind of talk us through some games. So
Sure.
let's see. I'm getting in the game here. Gonna load
Where do
up.
we start?
Let's start with the STC game. I think that's a good
Okay.
starting point. And I feel like it sums up your general play, I think.
The one on
it's a good game.
Metropolis or
Yeah,
Ohana?
Metropolis.
Okay.
Let's see. Sorry, I just have all these folders from DreamHack. I have to kind of traverse here.
Names of the replays are wrong actually. They switch places, so
Yeah, I know.
you have to make sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
The Ohana one is, yeah. Okay, good point though.
All right, I'm in game.
It actually says Quantic State too. It's funny. Okay.
Yeah.
It's not Quantic State, guys. Just in case you guys didn't know that once it does load up.
Yeah, I remember this when I see the chat. I don't know how long you're in this replay.
Oh, okay. Let me switch over there he goes.
The loading screen for this game took like felt like 5 minutes.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, I
The
didn't realize
casters
that.
was so slow.
Okay.
That's what it's like.
So why don't we go 2 minutes,
All right, sure.
and then we'll pause it there, and then we'll start up. Not too much happens. No crazy 2 racks in this game. Proxy 2 racks. 11-11 here.
All right, fast
Okay.
forward.
Okay,
All
ready
right.
when you are.
I'm on 2 minutes. So what speed do we play? Faster?
We'll go fast.
2x.
Just kind of normal, so we can talk through. We can, this
Alright,
first
sure.
game, we'll just go kind of slow. Here we go. 3, 2, 1, go.
Okay.
Okay, so 15 hatch. No surprise here.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, we've been seeing a little bit more. Actually, we've been seeing a little bit more of pool first. Just a tiny bit. Just from some players. And do you ever do pool first?
Absolutely. I was really inspired by Nerchio and
Yep.
Madelisk. Those two started doing pull first a lot, so I started doing it, but now I don't really do it that much anymore.
Okay.
It's very good against 2 racks, and it was also good against Terrans who like to go for 1 racks expand on the low ground.
Mm-hmm.
It reminds me a bit of 9 pool in CVC, which I guess is a bit popular as well,
Right.
because you can effectively cancel your opponent's expansion on the low ground while you get your own up a little bit later, but you still get it up before your opponent.
Is that much more of an advantage than just going straight 15 hatch? I mean, you're right about that, but I mean, a lot of folks do build their second command center in their base, like kind of like what STC is doing right now, right?
Yeah. If you go pull first against what STC is doing right here, you will not really be too happy.
Yeah.
So, it's always going to be a gamble, but pull first can be quite amazing against proxy 2 racks, for example.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So, it's just tiny differences in how the builds pan out. And, of course, economically, if you can get away with hatch first, that's always going to be great. So,
Yeah, definitely. All right, so let's talk about this game. So you're going gasless, right? You're going gasless
mm-hmm.
for a time being, and then you'll probably go double gas at what, like 44 or something like that, 44 supply around there or something.
I think it's a little bit less. It's usually around the 5-minute mark, so I think it's about 36 supply.
Oh wow, okay.
So now we see, did I scout anything at all? No, I haven't scouted my opponent at all this game.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm playing kind of safe. That's why I made those 2 links, just to poke down and make sure that there is nothing crazy like a delayed 2 racks or something crazy going on.
Right. So building the 3rd and 4th queen, pretty standard here when you're going no gas.
But this is about the time you want to start taking double gas. You see it there on 36 supply.
Yeah.
That's when I take my double gas. Just keep on droning. And it's kind of good that these replays are available, because there are some overload timings you don't want to miss when you do this.
Mm-hmm. Talk to us a little bit about it.
No, there are just a few times you want to make overloads, or you will be supply blocked, and it has to do with the inject timings. Yeah, I can't really go over all of them, but there are some basic timings, like I don't really remember the exact ones.
Okay, never mind then.
Let's pause at 6 so I can try and talk about it.
Okay, yeah. Because overlord timings and those syncing kind of things are the kind of things that I know a lot of lower level players kind of struggle with, right? And get supply blocked at 30 or that sort of thing, right? Or 28, 28 and 36 are pretty common supply block, I think.
Yes.
Numbers for lower level folks. So yeah, so talk about a little bit with this 2 base opening.
Okay, so when you go 15 hatch, then you usually go, 16 pool, and then you want to make an overlord at like 17 or 18,
Mm-hmm.
and then you keep droning up, and there should be an overlord at 26 as well.
Okay.
And there are these really hard numbers where you don't really want to miss overlords. So every player out there that struggles with a little bit if you get supply blocked early on, you should really go back and fix that issue as soon as possible.
Yeah.
Because there are some really hard numbers, and I'm a bit afraid of saying wrong numbers here.
Okay. No, that's no problem. Maybe one thing you can tell us is overlord placement right now. So you have 5 overlords out, right? Talk to us a little bit about where you're putting these on this map in particular.
Okay, I guess the most important thing on Metropolis is, when he spawns cross positions, it's kind of difficult. You can see that I'm controlling the area behind his third base, and I'm also trying to get an overlord into position over his gas. And
Which
all of
gas,
these,
though?
my opponent's main gas.
Main gas. Okay, got it.
And
Yeah, right here.
But
okay.
when you get cross positions, it's so difficult because the overlords reach your opponent so late. So you will not really be able to get a lot of early game information from your opponent with these overlords. It's more of a late game or mid game thing, where you can, for example, the overlord down in the bottom left corner. You can pull that in when you go for lair tech, and put it in the third base. Then it can start dropping creep there.
Okay.
One of those important details. And for example, the overlord on the right could be used to sack if you want to see, for example, if he's going for mech or if he's going for bio, then you can use the overlord on the right side.
Okay. On this map, do you put overlords all over the middle of the map where there's the raised areas? Like, there's a ton of them on this map. I never actually really noticed until now.
I think they are exposed to the watchtowers.
Oh, are they? Oh man, that's pretty bad then.
I might be mistaken because I haven't really played Metropolis a lot, so this is actually one of the things I would like to know.
Yeah, it's really close, especially those tiny ones, those tiny octagons there. Yeah, okay, cool.
But I know for sure, the areas above the third bases of both players, like in between the fifth and main, those are always key points to control. You always want to have an overlord hanging there, both on your side and your opponent's side. And apart from that, against Terran, being able to control the airspace around the Terran space and your own base is extremely important, because medivacs can really catch you off guard.
Right, for drops. Okay.
So if you have the corners, if you have the edges, and you have the watchtowers, then you have this diagonal line. You know that your half side of the map is safe. So you kind of want this diagonal field of vision to be safe against medivacs.
Yeah, kind of the top left to the bottom right type of I guess vision. Yep, gotcha.
Whether I follow that in this game is a completely different story.
That's true. All right, let's start it up again. Here we go. 3, 2, 1, go.
Alright, so the plan with this double gas is to skip link speed, and you see that I'm getting a 5th queen as well.
Oh yeah.
And the plan is to just go for lair with the first 100 gas.
Okay.
There you go. And
so
from
talk
here,
to me about the 5th queen. So what's the point of the 5th queen?
just to spread creep and be safe against marine attacks, just general defense and macro.
Okay.
As you can see, here's a marine attack, and I lose so many creep tumors. But this is one of the reasons why I get the 5th queen. Now you can see I'm a little bit concerned he might push all the way in, but this is a push from him to deny a greedy 3rd. Unfortunately, I play 2 bays, and fortunately for me, I also have 5 queens for defense.
Right.
And what you want to do with this build is to get a Roach Warren up, synchronized with your lair. Like, shortly after you begin your lair, you take a Roach Warren, and also get 2 evolution chambers.
Okay.
This is not really the best example, because the build is not as sharp, but you can see the general concept here. Lair, Roach Warren, and double Evo.
Yeah, that's important. Yeah, that's good enough, actually, just to at least get the outline of it.
Yeah.
And no Bane Nest or anything like that?
Nothing like that. You're supposed to rely on the 5 queens alone for defense early on.
Okay.
And then straight into roach speed, and you get the carapace and the melee upgrade as well, as you make a few roaches. And you can do all of this without thinking about anything of what your opponent is doing. This is just to make sure that you will be able to control the midfield and take a 3rd base.
Okay, so, and I mean that's kind of the explanation of roaches, just period, right? Just being able to get map control for that time being, just to establish the 3rd. That's the only reason you go roaches.
They also have this really nice effect on Metropolis, because Metropolis has so many rocks, and roaches are pretty good at breaking down rocks, so I like this opening for Metropolis.
Oh, okay.
So you can see that I'm able to break down the rocks to my third really easily.
Right.
And you see I'm starting link speed, because I feel like he's being quite aggressive with this. And this is where the transition comes in. I see that there's a bunker down there. I want to take a third. Ideally, you want to take a third rather early. As early as possible. When you get roaches out, you want to expand and transition into infestation pit and link speed.
Okay. But you're going to go in pressure, you know, with these roaches that you already built, and it's only roaches, right? So it looks like there's a ling follow-up too to it. Is that meant to reinforce this army, or just to?
These feelings were just to protect in case he did something stupid with his Hellions. Like now he ran in with a few Hellions.
Like that. Yeah, gotcha.
I guess. I think it was more because I was fully on 2 bases. I had full drone saturation, so I might as well make a few links. I don't know. But now I see that, you know, I couldn't do any damage in the front. These roaches, like I said, they are not intended to kill your opponent. There are a few really cool all-ins you can do with 2-base roach as well, but you can do this transitional style where you just push out, try and poke at the front. If he has siege tanks, for example, you back off. And the creep at your opponent's third is really key here.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And in combination with roaches, for example, you can deny this space at the third for a really long time. If it sends marines, you know, when you have the overlord there, you force out marines, and then you can kill them with roaches.
Okay.
And especially the poke as well makes the Terran feel like he can't really move out, and that removes a lot of the incentive for him to check the third. So now, only now did he kill the overlord. And if you look at my third base in comparison to my opponent's third base, it's like way ahead.
Yeah. So I mean, you mentioned having those roaches and lings, and one of the things that you can do with it is continue pressuring the third. And why didn't you do that, actually? Because I felt like you would have been successful if, instead of killing rocks, you were actually down there.
I think it would have been a better choice as well to pressure this force. I mean, his siege mode wasn't done, but this is, you know, it's hidden information.
Yeah,
I didn't know that he had, but with a little bit of better scouting, then maybe.
Okay, yeah, I just wasn't sure if, you know, there was a, you just knew something that, you know, that wasn't apparent. Okay, so now he's trying to drop, and the nice thing is you have all these units right now, right? So,
I know that I'm ahead in economies, so I might as well just sit back and defend and advance my tech instead. As we can see, I'm getting the hive, getting ready to go up to triple upgrades, since I know that his third is late, so I'm feeling quite comfortable right here.
Yeah, one of the things I really like that, you know, what you're doing here is, like, you have your army split into 2 just to defend drops, because you know you're not pushing out anytime soon, so there's no point in just having all your army clumped into one big old group in the middle of all your races, right? So
that's one thing that you absolutely want to remember when you're playing against Terran. If you see a medevac, don't just send units to that one spot, because there's probably one on the opposite side as well.
Yeah, and a push in the middle too. That's usually what happens.
But never all of the army to one place.
Right.
If you see one medevac, there is another one on the way as well.
Okay, so you're basically taking your fourth now. So is the timing of taking your fourth really important here? Not exactly.
Okay. The most important thing definitely is going up to hive and getting those upgrades rolling.
Okay.
But yeah, now as he's trying to be aggressive, like Terrans usually go for this 2 or 3 base push, so you want to have a lot of units for it. So you only want to drone up your third a bit, and you never want to drone up your fourth before you know that this push is stopped.
Nice, yeah, it was nice that you sent your lings around the other side, so you surrounded this army and crushed it.
Yeah, it could have been a bit better, but it was okay. And at this point I know that since I delayed his third for such a long time, then I should be able to go and force a lot of damage on my opponent's third base as well. If he's trying to take a fourth, I will completely shut that down. So the main point of this push, I guess, is to just try and cause some minor damage in the third base. There we see a cancel on the fourth CC. And in the meantime, I'm never making more roaches. I only got the initial roaches, and I never really built any more. I just made lings and infestors. Because once you have those roaches, you you don't really need anymore. Roaches are one of those units where you want a few and then you want to stop making them.
So how do you feel about this attack right now? I mean, is this? I mean, obviously there's a scenario where you just win here, but in general though, are you pretty happy with this attack right here?
Charging up into the natural.
Yeah, I mean that's.
It's rather risky, but I knew that if I charge up into the natural, sure I deal a lot of damage in the natural, but I also delay the third from being mined from for a long time.
Right.
So sure, I'm wasting units here, but it's also about denying him mining from the third.
Oops, I switched to...
I don't know, the game is already over at this point, and I know we had a similar example against... who was it? Was it against... could it be against Tasia? No, that was not the case. I remember playing another CVT on Metropolis where I had a similar situation where I won a game like this by busting the third.
Yeah, I kind of remember that too. I don't know if it was...
Oh yeah, it was against Bomber on IPL.
There you go. Yeah, I didn't think it was DreamHack actually.
Yeah, and if you're on 4 bases against a 2-base Terran, then honestly you can afford to sack units.
Yeah.
When I was playing against Bomber at IPL, I was just thinking to myself, I don't want to go Broodlords, that's so boring, I want to finish this game, and, you know.
Well, you got the same thing here too, so that's another thing I wanted to talk to you about, is that, you know, you going high, I felt like was, you know, a lot of times, obviously one of the reasons you go high was to get the 3-3, but you have like, you know, you didn't build a Spire or a Fortress Den at all, or a Cavern at all, so...
Yeah,
I mean,
it wasn't really necessary, but it also backfired on me a bit, because it took so long to actually kill my opponent.
It did. Well, I mean, it would still be about the same, even if you went... I guess if you would have gone Ultra, it might have happened a little bit earlier.
Yeah.
That's true.
How you want to close the game is entirely up to you. I like to, I don't know, sometimes I see players trying to close games and they take to Great Aspire, but they do it too fast and then they die.
Right.
And I guess it's down to personal preference. But I mean, when you have, like I said, when you have 4 bases against 2, then pretty much no matter what you do, you will be able to pull off a win. You will see I just go in again. There's no way you can lose from here.
Right. Yeah, there's that whole thinking that when you're ahead, you kind of try to get more, you know, more ahead with teching and that sort of thing. But a lot of times too, like the more time that you give your opponent, the more time that he can take shortcuts and catch up, right? So,
yeah.
Yeah.
But the Terran here realizes that it's over. Like, there's no way you can stop this. So he taps out.
Okay, cool. Good replay to start with there. I think it was a... I don't know, I felt like that was a pretty, you know, I wouldn't say standard, you know, like your ZVT, your standard ZVT, but it's pretty good representative, at least one of the routes that you'd like to do, like to take with roaches. Yeah,
it shows a very good way to deal with, you know, he didn't really go for that many Hellions, and he didn't go for Banshees, but this roach opening is fantastic against a typical Hellion Banshee play as well. And
how is that? I mean, just because you have all the queens at home, I guess. Oh, you're going quick layer too. That's true.
Yeah, so you have overseers and you have upgrades on the way, and you have the roaches to deal with the Hellions, and you have the queens to deal with the Banshees. And you know, if you try, that's one of the things I figured out from, you know, I used to play. Last time we talked, I took a really fast third base in CVT.
Right.
But eventually, as the metagame shifted more and more into, you know, those typical 8 to 10 mass Hellion Banshees, sometimes with load, sometimes without, you know, it just became really difficult as you played better Terrans to, it worked well against, like, Terrans not as skilled, but against Terrans who knew what they were doing. Being able to pull off a fast third base as Zerg is it's rather tricky sometimes. And that's why this 2-base tech opening is working quite well. It's very comfortable, it's very easy to do, it's very difficult to go wrong. Like, obviously you need to watch out that Hellions don't run by, but you have the wall off for that. And
right. It's a lot safer, definitely a lot safer.
Yeah, it's super safe, and you can also use it to deny the third of the opponent, like we saw in this game. So you get 2 base, and then you get your third up while you make a push on your opponent's third, and or try to delay it for as long as possible. If you know, the point is to poke, and if you see him going siege tanks, fine, just leave him be, and you can double expand yourself.
Right. Yeah,
and
I
you
mean,
can creep his third, and you know, yeah.
exactly. No, that's the one thing I love about Ohana. Like when it first came out, I didn't really love the map just because it was kind of small and it seems so straightforward. But I feel like Ohana really, it really simplifies a lot of the map architecture. So, you know, you can really get a sense for how the strategies kind of line up with each other, right? And like you said, like the thirds are just exposed, right? And it's not anything tricky or anything about the third, you know, and you can really feel like, you know, what strategies or what timings, you know, really work about trying to delay the third or pressure the third. And you know what I mean? I mean that's the one thing I really love about that map. It's the only map I can say that I feel like is, I don't know, just very straightforward and simplified, you know, for all the races actually. So you know, like creep spreading too, right? Creep spreading on Ohano, I feel like is pretty
Yeah.
it's impactful if you can get across the half the map, and it's obvious too. It's obvious why it's impactful too on that map. Um, but okay, let's move on to the second ZVT. So we're gonna do one against Liquid Tasia, one of your games against Liquid Tasia.
All
And
right.
again,
Let's
this is
see.
from DreamHack, but I forget which one we're gonna do here. The Cloud Kingdom, he
Um.
opens 2 racks. I know that.
Yeah. I wish I opened roaches in that game, but I didn't, and he hit me with Marine, Blue Flame Hellion.
Yeah,
A
that
really
Hellion.
difficult match to play for me, but I think if any Terrans are watching this, they should definitely check out that game because
Mhm.
Taja played it beautifully.
Was it just Marine?
So
Was there any Marauder in it, or was it just pure Marine
no, I
Blue
think
Flame?
he just used a lot of Marines
Okay.
and Hellions for starters, and
Hmm.
then he maybe got a few. You know, it was
Yeah.
more about the medivacs and stuff.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, that timing is so hard. It's hard to hold a third with that comp or
And
that push.
the game I won was the Ohana game, and then I lost on Metropolis in a really long game. He just out macroed me, and I
Right.
wasn't able to shut down his bases eventually.
I see. So which one do you want to go over? You want to go over?
I don't
Let's
know. It depends
see.
on what's interesting for the viewers. Obviously, in the second game, I win, so that could be a good example of how to play
It's
Ohana
Ohana
CVT.
again though. No. We went over Metropolis first. Yeah, let's go over Ohana then.
Yes.
Just talked
Okay.
about Ohana. It's like I totally segment myself and I like don't even take it.
But
So
if there are any Terrans watching this, or if you know a Terran, you should definitely check out the first game on Cloud Kingdom,
yeah.
Taja versus Snute from DreamHack. That was amazing play by Taja. Just have to give him some credit for that.
Yeah, Tasia is quite good. That type of you know, that timing too. Another person you can watch if you're a Terran out there is Pold. Pold has an awesome timing when it comes to Blue Flame bio. He's so good at it. He's like one of the best at it, I think. All right, let's go to 2 minutes. 2 minutes and all you
Okay.
Terrans out there that have been asking for Terrans, I am trying. I am trying to get Terrans. They're just so hard to get, honestly. Just because there's just so few really good Terrans nowadays that aren't Korean, and the Terrans that aren't Korean are like generally very busy too. Uh, so I'm trying,
True.
guys. I'm trying. Okay, actually, you know, a good time. It's probably a good time to remind you folks that we're going to be giving away a Heart of the Swarm beta key. And what we're gonna do with it, instead of having you folks follow ChanmanV or whatever, we're gonna give it away to one of the viewers, somebody who's actually watching the show. So at the end of the show, we'll probably ask something that has to deal with some point in the show, like something that we talked about during the show, so that the folks that the folks that are actually watching the live show will be able to will be entered into the drawing instead of like folks. I know some folks that enter the drawing don't even watch the live show, and I kind of wanted to stop doing that and really reward you guys that are watching the show. So, okay, let's start this puppy up. Here we go. 3, 2. Are you at 2 minutes actually?
Yep.
Okay, 3, 2, 1, go. We'll do faster.
All right. So in this game, things are a
Oh.
little bit different.
Oh. So pull first. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Here we go.
I really didn't want to lose to a 2-Rex in this game.
Right.
I would rather take a tiny disadvantage in economy rather than lose to a 2-Rex because this was after I lost the first game, I believe.
Yep.
So I really wanted to play it safe and just get another chance to play him in the straight-up macro game.
Yeah, and that's, I think that decision is sometimes not talked about a lot, by players and just by casters and that sort of thing. Is, there's no point in really taking a giant risk if it's going to mean you losing really quickly in a game. You know what I mean? Like, a lot of mistakes. This is kind of a game of mistakes, right? And if like losing to a 2-rack is never. I feel like this is like the worst scenario for Zerg. So.
Yeah. And yeah, it could have been a lot worse. As you can see, he's not doing like the STC did on Metropolis. He's not putting the CC in the wall off itself. He's putting it on the low ground, and that's really good for me because I went for the 15 pool into 15 hatchery and then an overlord at 14, and then you save up larva for initial 6 links, and I even made 10 links.
Wow.
In response to scouting. That's the beauty of Ohana. You can see the low ground expansions really early on. So you can kind of adapt. You can decide if you want to commit to the attack or not. So we see me going in here with the links, trying to shut down this CC. You can't really do damage if you walk up the ramp usually.
Right.
You want to force SCVs to be pulled off, and when the SCVs come down, you kind of want to try and see if you can do damage to them. See if you can kill them off, and you don't really want to be losing too many links either. So I actually was a little bit too aggressive as usual. But here come my reinforcements, so I just want to
slow it down as much as you can. Oh man, if you would have killed that, it would have been another 20 seconds probably.
Almost got the last SCV.
Yeah, that would have been huge. Okay, that's good. That's cool decision making there. Cool.
It's not something you have to do, but sometimes it might be better to just save the links. It all depends on. If he brings a lot of SCVs, then you don't want to fight with him because he has already pulled SCVs. He has lost mining time. It's a win for you, and you can just pull back.
Yeah, and I just want to point out that like the kind of drone SCV count, you actually ended up getting a tiny lead there. Plus, you got the delay on the natural. So that was a huge win for you there, actually.
But on the flip side, I only killed 3 SCVs. So. And I lost 10 links, and I don't have the same economy that I would have had if I went for hatch first, but all in all, it's quite even. Not too bad.
Not too bad, and again, you were safe. You kept yourself safe from any kind of proxy 2-racks, so...
That's a very good point, and that was the purpose of the opening. Like I wanted another chance against Tasia.
Exactly.
To play another game for experience and whatnot. So here we see the same.
Screw that shit, man. You're trying to win, man. I want to see you win.
Yeah, I refuse to lose to a 2-racks like that in this game.
Okay, so I guess now we're kind of normalizing back to your.
Yeah. So here we see the exact same thing.
You actually built an Evo first here. Okay.
Alright, here's how it works. When you go for the double gas and start in there, then you can drop an Evo right away. And then you can drop an Evo with the next 100 gas, and it will line up perfectly. And you want to drop the Roach Warren when the lair is at 25 out of 80 seconds. That's how it lines up perfectly.
Okay,
and you can do that if you want, but the most important thing, of course, is to remember the double Evo and remember the Roach Warren, and don't build them too late. Okay. And while all of this is going on, you want to keep on droning, and after you put down your Roach Warren, you also want to take additional double gas.
Okay. Yeah, and I just want to point out again that your kind of overlord placement on this map, it's all in key positions around each of the bases, and obviously really close to the natural gas here. He can actually see the gas from that spot right there. Yeah. Yep. Catch a view of it, because obviously gas is a pretty good indicator of what they might be doing, or give you kind of what choice paths they have. So
if they take the double gas in the natural expansion really early, that's usually a good indicator that they are going for mech play. Wow. So if you see that combined with Hellion pressure, then
this is kind of scary here, man. Ouch.
Yeah, you see the Hellions, they run into my base, and this was because I put an evolution chamber into the main, and that hurts so much. It just goes to show how important it is when you do this strategy. It's supposed to be easy, it's supposed to be fun and something for everyone, but if you're not walling off, it certainly isn't.
Right.
The best way to do this is to build the 2 Evos. If you can, then get them down at the top of your ramp, and then block off with double Evo and the Roach Warren. But you need creep there as well.
Oh, you're talking about at the ramp, but you have tumors there though, so
I know.
you could have
This
done
game
it
is a
anyways.
horrible example.
Yeah,
I'm playing
yeah.
so much better than this
It's okay.
on
It's
ladder.
okay. No, it's good to
When,
point out. It's good to point out mistakes too, because we all make those mistakes. So it's
and in this game, it cost me so many drones, like 12 drones.
Yeah.
Fell to that simple mistake. Just wall off. It doesn't take a lot of time to learn, and you will want to do it in every single game, and it will save you a lot of pain against double factory, mass reactor, Hellion, whatever.
Yeah. So right now, I mean, there's tanks, there's Marines, but do you know there's, do you know if if he's going mech or biotech here? Let me see.
Yeah, I sent it in Overseer, so I saw everything.
Okay. Yeah, got it. Okay.
But then again, it's about the same opening as last game, just fewer roaches this time.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was going to ask you too. Is just what your adjustment is, given that there's tanks in this.
As soon as you see the tanks, you might as well just stop making roaches.
Okay. Love the creep again. For those of you that don't know or haven't seen the show, I've always mentioned in the past that an overlord that has full creep spread, just like it's crapped all its creep, is going to be a full minute delay for it to receive, and then a creep tumor is actually 2 minutes to receive completely. So it's awesome delay factor. And there it goes. Much better than like a burrowling. I mean, creeping from an overlord is much better. So. Okay, so taking a fourth now, and I mean, you almost have no units here. I'd be scared shitless if I were playing this game right now.
Yeah, but now I'm on 3 bases, and now you know that you've delayed this third, and it's the same thing happening as the Metropolis game. When you have your third base up and running on 6 gas, then you know that you can make only units from there.
Right.
Because eventually he will make a push on your bases, be it the 4th or the 5th. So you just want to be on 3 base, and you want to be expanding to your 4th and 5th. But you also want to be going up to, 3 base hive tech and make a ton of units.
Okay.
So while you're expanding, you're not really investing into economy. At this point, as soon as you got your 3 base economy up and running, the thing you want to be investing into is tech and the army.
Right. Yeah, and a lot of folks kind of like wait to build their army, as they're kind of moving out, and it's like it's way too late by then, especially at a Terran that's at like 140 supply. You're not gonna be able to make that up in a couple rounds of larva.
Yeah.
So it's always good to pre-make it. So when you double expand, you're kind of, well, I mean, your 4th's already up, but when you kind of double expand the 4th and 5th, is your mindset really that hopefully just one of them survives if they double drop, or I mean, are you really intending to hold both?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, sure,
on
like, yeah,
on
sure,
Ohana, it's I don't know. In a situation like this, it's really easy to take both of them. And sure, you might lose one. Ideally, you don't really want to do that. But if the Terran moves out a little bit too early, I even made 6 drones. I don't know why I was doing that. Ideally, you just want to be on this 3 base economy, like I said, and then when the Terran pushes out because he sees that you're double expanding, you defended the harassment and all that stuff, then you just want to go and crush his attack.
His main army, yeah. Okay, so he does have a drop there. It's just like somehow avoiding the creep right there. But you see it now, so I think you see it. No, yeah, okay, burrowed Bane's there, nice.
Let's see. What's the game timer?
I'm on 14:45.
Alright, I just need to fast forward a little bit. Alright. There I caught up.
Okay, so your Banes are morphing. Oh, they're gonna morph at the right time here before they siege too. Ouch. Okay, that's good timing there. And obviously the timing was fortunate, but I think the overall the general concept was to
I completely forgot about this part of the game. I don't know what even happened. Oh my god. Okay, so I guess what I was trying to do here was a tactic to counterattack to force his army home and then catch him in a really awkward position.
Right. Which you did. You did.
Which I did. It worked wonders. But usually I think it's better if you let the Terran come a little bit into your creep and kill him there instead, while you, for example, it doesn't have to be as messy as this. This is such a mess.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
It can be a bit more clean if you just allow the Terran to come a little bit closer, you use your infestors at your defenses, at your front line, and then you have this little pack of links to shut off the reinforcements.
Let's pause it real quick, actually. We can talk a little bit.
Sure.
So you brought up a good point about, just, I guess, engaging the main army, right? But, obviously, just like any other map, the Terrans always dropping, before even they're necessarily pushing in the middle, right? Or they're trying to position in the middle while they're dropping two sides. And that's a pretty common tactic, right? So for you, in your mind, do you usually try to clean up those drops first, and then I guess you just kind of give the Terran that position that he's trying to establish in the middle, or do you try to just, basically just stop the main army and then just rally, I guess, to rally and pull drones, I guess, for the drops? Like, what's your
I understand what you mean.
Yeah.
I think what I usually do is to first of all, rearrange my queens so I can fend off the medevacs. But then I actually pull most of my army back to defend against the drops. And I rather let the Terran come a little bit closer. And on some maps it might be really difficult to prevent reinforcements from advancing. Shakura's Plateau is a really good example of this, where if you let the Terran drop you in, for example, in your top base and your bottom base, like, the main and the fourth, if you let him drop both of those and you pull your entire army away from the middle, then you will not be able to stop reinforcements, and he will be able to advance really freely. But in practice, like in most of my games,